What is up, the YouTube library? Today I want to talk about the topic of, is it possible to become a trillionaire with hacks? So how much, first of all, is $1 trillion? That's 1,000 billion. So I'm gonna run some math here. So if I take my 1 million hex stake for 5 days for the maximum length of time that you can do at the moment, to up to 2035. If we just run some numbers, so I know that a couple of months ago, when hex was very new, I was talking about this idea of, are we going to see either $10 million Bitcoin, or are we going to see a $10,000 XRP, or are we going to see $4,500 hex? Now, my bet was that we would see the hex thing most likely more than a $10,000 XRP or a $10 million per Bitcoin. So if we run this little math pretty quick, and let's go with hex.live and check out with the current AP, APU, APY that they are listing. So at the moment, on a 1 million hex stake for maximum length time, 5,555 days, it shows an APY of 28.92% annual percentage yield. Now, on this website at the moment, it says that during the whole period, that would be, if it would have the same percentage in staked, it would be 4,674 annual, or the full time percentage yield, and that doesn't even include the share price, how that kind of changes things and becomes more scarce, and it also doesn't include the big payday. But if we go with this idea of 4,674%, and the big payday on a million hex stake is around 5.9 million hex. So let's do some simple math here. 5.9 plus, actually it's just 1.1. Okay, brings us up to 7 million hex. And if we go with 7 million hex and we take times, and I'm not even sure if my math is correct, but if I run this for 15 times and we say 29%, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That brings us to, is that 319 million hex? I mean, it kind of seems like it, but I'm not even sure if this math is accurate. Who knows? But it seems like it is. So if we go with, that's almost a 300x gain in hex in principle in 15 years. And if we take that times, and let's say, and let's take that, those 300 million hex, and let's take that times what I said in that video then, which was, are we gonna see either a $10,000 XRP, $4,500 hex, or are we going to see a $10 million Bitcoin? Now, the problem with Bitcoin is, why is it not gonna go there? Probably because it has pollution problems and electricity burning. It's so expensive to mine Bitcoins. So it doesn't seem very likely. And then we do have other things. For example, XRP is a DLT ledger. People can dump it at any moment. So we kind of only have hex then, that it seems like that is more likely of those outcomes. Now, nobody knows what's going to happen, but if we say 319 million hex times that calculation that I did of $4,500 per hex, that brings us to, if you have 300 million hex, 319 million hex on a maximum length stake, that would kind of bring us to $4,500. That's actually $1.4 trillion. That is $1,400 billion. Yes, it says 1436005847155. That is 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, It is actually $1 trillion, 436 billion. That is what the math say. And I'm only looking at it at the math side. And if you look at the math in a 15-year period time, it actually seems like it's actually possible to, if Hex is like successful and gets adopted and all of this, it kind of seems like there is actually a chance that we may have eventually trillionaires on this planet. And can you become a trillionaire in Hex? Who knows? But the math is very interesting. Like when you're running the math, it kind of seems like eventually someone is going to become a trillionaire in something. And also, if you look at reality, so the XRP guy, he was one of the richest guys on the planet, I think, early 2018. Of course, illiquid, but still, if he could do that, then why can't Hex do 10x that? It kind of seems like Hex can do 10x that. It seems like, especially if it has a better product, and Hex has a better product than XRP. So why can't Hex outperform that and make rich people, very rich people? I mean, and even if we would run a little bit lower math, so let's say just $100 per hex in 15 years, that brings us to $31 billion. And $31 billion, that's still a lot of money, right? And now I'm like looking at it from very, very low figures here. And it seems like the way you run these numbers, and when you see in the Hex performance and then the adoption, and I see the watch time on my Hex videos, I don't see why this would like not go up, because people staked for 4.5 years and there's scarce amount of coins, and we're very early in, and the share price is going to the predictions on the share price, it's supposed to go very, very slow the first year, 2020. It's gonna have a bump here in on the big payday or the day after, because people are cashing out. So, but it should pump even harder in the upcoming years, especially when people are coming out of stake and and shares gets more rare. So it seems like you can maybe become a trillionaire in Hex, but it depends on so many factors. It depends on so many factors, like how long a person stake, and what other kinds of technology that comes out in the market, computers and smartphones and so on. And it's just interesting, man. Like, and you look at it from like, and you consider how mediocre many people are, and we see like 10 years can go by pretty fast. Like we're still using Facebook and Twitter, just as we did in 2010. So it's like, it's very interesting. Um, yeah, it's actually 1.4 trillion if you would have 390 million hex, and it's $4,500 per hex. I don't know, it's like fascinating, right? Um, Math is interesting, and I'm fairly sure that math is going to take over most stuff the next 5 to 10 years. So it's like, it's very interesting. And obviously, it's like people don't consider how exponential curves happen. And it's like, so how it kind of happens these days is like a person that can kind of become like a billionaire, maybe maybe in 2012 or something like that. Like 10 years later, you're probably gonna have someone that can 1000x that, because what we're doing is just like we're playing with numbers in a computer, and eventually someone is gonna have an amazing game theory system that works amazing for onboarding and the product that people really love. And if it really, really, and then it's just like when it works, when the game theory is solid, it's like, yeah, it can go high, because it can basically solve all the stuff that, so Bitcoin, very, very early experiment, and it's kind of fascinating. But then people are going to perfect the game theory, and when you eventually run into a perfect game theory, it can do a lot of things. So I think the math is very interesting. Even if you use count, if you use count at a dollar per hex, I mean that's still $319 million. This is crazy. Seriously, like use a dollar per hex and 319 million hex, that would be $319 million. Run the math. Seriously. The math is insane. Uh, let's just try this for example. Let's say 1000x from the current price. Where did that bring us? That brings us to $4.1. 1000x. And it seemed like we did 100x pretty fast. $4.1 times 319 million hex coins. That brings you to $1.3 billion. Even like, yeah, it seems like some people are gonna become billionaires in something. We don't know if they're gonna be it in hex or something because this is a zero expectation project. Project is complete. It's out there in the wild, and we don't know what it's going to become, right? But it's kind of fascinating to follow this community, and yeah, so that's kind of what I want to talk about. The math is math, right? So $1.3 billion, like, is $1 billion gonna be that much money in 15 years? Maybe it won't. Same as like a lot of people don't think $1 million is that much these days. Maybe we'll have houses for $1 billion. Who knows? It's uh, it's interesting to have theories about. So I said it in the past that I am a big believer in printing value, especially doing it with a smart contract, because I think this is the best thing ever to come to humans, that they can print their own value and using clever game theory like locking up coins. And if people emergency end stake, you're basically paying the holders. So you're paying the holders to hold up the value of hex. It seems like it's more intelligent, and it seems like it already has succeeded so hard. Like when I look at the hex community, how much they love the project, and when I look at the watch time on my videos, a lot of my hex videos, they are being watched for they're being watched for 8 minutes now on average in watch time. So I see that it's like it's a real community with real people. The Telegram is on fire all the time. I never actually seen a Telegram with that much activity, which you can basically find in the Hex Telegram. And it's very interesting because it's like if you look at other crypto communities, they're all about dumping or they're all about trading. They're not so much in it for holding. Even the Bitcoiners, I mean, they're always talking about the pump, and I sort of feel that Hex, if it truly does amazing things and keeps on doing it, it's going to be a paradigm shift in how people look at value, in probably how people like relate to other people, how people relate to value, what people spend their time investing a lot of time and energy into. So it seems like Hex is going to make it so people can do what they really want to do and don't have to do that much nonsense. So I love how Hex mainly focuses so much on computing power and elegance in the code. Me, I'm a big fan of computing power. Have the latest MacBook Pro, have the latest Galaxy S20 Ultra, S10 Plus, Galaxy Note 10. I'm such a big fan of computing power and just letting computers do what we actually shouldn't do, because the computers can do it better. Computers can compute much better than human beings. That's a fact. So I felt this a very, very long time, maybe 5 years, that yeah, it's been a long time coming, but now finally it is starting to happen, that the machines are becoming so capable, and been able to compute so fast and so smooth, never doing any errors, that it's just going to be a great time for a lot of humans. And they can maybe think beyond their limited identity and try to look at larger visions, maybe for a future world or something like that. Because this is going to move humans into this rent and share age, where the way people are looking at things is going to move away probably from ownership and more towards trying to build systems of sharing and renting, and do that more frictionless. For example, you can see people that may want to rent out their apartment, and then they just may if they notice eventually that a lot of people are sitting on this hex token, maybe they can rent it out, and it should take maybe you can rent an apartment for hex, and then you get this, eventually you get this circular economy. If everyone eventually accepts it, then everything, then more people have incentive to kind of get into it and also get more of those coins, because it has more utility. At the moment with Bitcoin or any other crypto, nobody really trusts them that much, because a big reason because of that is because most people don't have any crypto. Because to get crypto, it's been a complicated a very, very long time. But when you have a smart contract that gives people crypto, eventually they're in the game. Like, they, when they have the crypto, maybe they try to find ways to create more value. Maybe they're making YouTube videos, maybe they're telling their friend about it, maybe they're trying to get their friend involved or something like that. When they're basically in the system, and they get utility out of it, they see more the use case of it. But it is this chicken and egg thing. Like, how do you get people involved? Well, now we've kind of figured it out. We just pay them with a smart contract, and then they can get those rewards longer time, longer in the future, if they're willing to kind of delay gratification. And that's one of the kind of breakthroughs with this hex smart contract. It's very interesting because in some ways it's going pretty fast. I remember in like 2017, it was even hard to get on some exchanges, and centralized exchanges, it got a little bit better, maybe 2018, 2019, but now we have decentralized exchange with Uniswap, and now it's really good. Like, now it's a really, really good experience to use an exchange, and a decentralized exchange also. I hope that kind of grows. I hope that people really see the benefit of that, and that they learn to take more responsibility of using something like Uniswap instead of a centralized exchange. Um, so that is a little bit what I want to talk a little bit about today. So, can you become a trillionaire with Hex? Maybe. You definitely can be a quadrillionaire with the hearts, the smallest unit of hex. So for each hex, that's 1,000,000 or 100 million hearts. So I think you can fairly easily become a quadrillionaire in the smallest unit. But many people probably would want to be like a trillionaire in USD. It's going to be interesting to see if USD is around in 15 years, or maybe people find something that works super, super amazing, and then everyone starts to use that, and then people you start to measure value in this new thing. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to kind of follow to see how things goes, both with the Hex smart contract, which is a complete project, complete with no admin keys and no expectations, can go to zero. But I don't see how it would go to zero because people really like it. Yeah, have an awesome day, DTube and library and hexagons.